John Weaver built a distinguished career with Appalachian State that lasted nearly 4 decades. However, coaching track and field at his alma mater really wasn't Weaver's initial goal. After graduating from App State in 1971, he returned to his hometown of Fayetteville, North Carolina, to teach high school biology. His research and fascination with exercise science eventually led him to become head coach of the track programs at Douglas Byrd High. And in pursuit of his master's in biology back at App State, Weaver worked with the men's running programs as a graduate assistant. Intending to return to high school teaching, App State offered Weaver the option of becoming head coach for the startup women's program in 1982. That path that he chose led to years upon years of success. And in 1995, Weaver was named the head coach of the men's program as well. The Mountaineer women would go on to win the Southern Conference's Triple Crown 7 times, while the men added 4 of their own. All told, Weaver's programs accumulated 78 conference team championships within the SoCon and the Sun Belt Conference. Among the more than 560 conference champions he coached are Melissa Morrison, who won 12 SoCon individual titles and went on to earn a pair of Olympic bronze medals, and Mary Jane Harrelson, who won the NCAA 1500-meter crown in 1999 and 2001. Outside of App State, Weaver was the women's sprints and hurdles coach for the U.S. National Under-23 team in 2012. And in addition to leadership roles within the Coaches Association, he served on the NCAA's Rules Committee and the NCAA Division I Sport Committee. Weaver retired in 2018, and he can now sit back and enjoy the numerous grad assistants and former athletes that make up a bountiful coaching tree. A lasting legacy that will pay off for decades to come. He is John Weaver, Hall of Fame, Class of 2021.
Yep. You know, I learned as I got a little older, there's 3 things that occur. You lose your sight, you lose your hearing, and I can't remember the other thing. That's for you, George Williams. George and I used to have a little fun before meets when we meet, and I enjoyed his joke. I'd always bring a joke, and it's something I remember forever, George. This recognition is a tremendous honor. I feel so privileged to be among these incredible inductees tonight. Since I received the news of the induction, so many memories have surfaced. 47 years. It's a little tough to kind of narrow it down. But it was 50 years ago. Don't worry, I won't start there and finish now. When the principal at 71st High School asked me to help the track coach as I was beginning what I thought would be my career in biology. The very next year, I was enticed to transfer to the new Douglas Byrd High School with a guarantee of the head coaching job if I would teach there. That first year inserted the bug for coaching, and I was elated. I couldn't wait. I recall trying to find potential runners before my first season by hanging out by the football cut list and asking those with disappointed faces if they knew how to run. Believe it or not, that tactic brought about 30 or so boys to the first workout. I was on my way. 3 girls came also. Because Byrd High had no girls' team, the regulations allowed the boys and girls to compete as one team. Those girls impressed many people that season. They really worked hard. They were good runners, and there was a lot of guys who busted a gut trying to stay ahead of them. But in my third year or so, they were able to recruit some more women, more girls, and then, of course, we formed a women's team. I remember when the new assistant football coach at Byrd High was also designated as an assistant track coach, namely Curtis Fry, now the head coach at South Carolina, and he's in the Hall of Fame. Those high school teams we coached were pretty good. When Bob Pollock, then head track and cross-country coach at Appalachian, later Clemson, called and offered me a part-time coaching position and a chance to earn my master's degree in biology, packed up my little truck, headed back to the mountains, and of course, everything else happened after that. A couple of years later, Rachel Laney, who was then the assistant AD at App State, and I'm happy to say is at my table this evening, asked if I would begin an NCAA-sanctioned women's track and cross-country program. I was so happy that I cooked not one, but 2 packs of ramen noodles that night for dinner. And on very special occasions, it would be Denny Moore beef stew and rice. The coaching position was half-time, and I coached solo, and I worked half-time in athletic fundraising, and then later on sports information. So I guess I could have gone several ways in my career, I guess. But anyway, I didn't let any grass grow under my feet, and I quickly developed my mantra of, "We will make it work," which I use to this day. If I ever get a tattoo, even at my age, and particularly at my age, I'll have blazoned across my chest, "We will make it work." Right below, "Do not resuscitate." My first recruits to the women's program were just as passionate about succeeding as I was, and they quickly established themselves as champions. I really proud to say that's the whole thing. They bought into everything, and all the recruits we brought in, they bought into it, and it's like a rolling stone, you know? After my first year as head coach, I was able to hire a graduate assistant, Sandra Ford, who became Sandra Centones and went on to be the longtime head coach for women at Dartmouth. I miss Sandy. In 1995, Rachel, who had become the AD for App State, offered me the full-time directorship of a combined program for men and women. And as you can see, Rachel played a very important part in my career. Rachel, thank you for your confidence in me. Fortunately, he did this with the addition of 3 full-time assistants and 2 part-time assistants, so everything fell in place. And the men's team, which had been quite successful under former head coaches Bob Pollock and Al Farashidyan, didn't lose stride, and so just like the women who continued to win. You know, there's nothing better than remembering those special moments when I saw the pride in an athlete's face when they realized personal bests, not to mention watching a number of them earn conference titles and even national and international accolades. And then the second best time to see their faces at graduation. And I enjoy that more than anything. And I was elated when after Appalachian joined the Sun Belt Conference in 2015, it was the women's indoor track team who earned the distinction of being the very first out of all 20 sports at Appalachian to earn a Sun Belt championship. You know, you wouldn't think that mean much, but it does. Our men's and women's teams faced some unique challenges along the way. But collectively, as coaches and athletes, we always made it work. We focused on what we had, not what we didn't have. Not long ago, my son Jay mentioned reminiscing with Robert Johnson, head coach at Oregon, about a good example of this. Some of you may know Robert was an All-American jumper at Appalachian and began his coaching career at Appalachian as an assistant. As an athlete, Robert did a lot of resistance training, like athletes will do. But, you know, a resistance sled, those type of equipments were really not what we could afford in our budget. So I rigged up a sturdy pull belt harness kind of thing, attached a blanket, put Jay, who was probably in 3rd grade, on the blanket, and off Robert would go, back and forth on the basketball court, Jay holding on for dear life and loving every minute of it. You know, the athletes in my program did more for my son Jay going into track and field than which he has done than anything I could have done. Matter of fact, if it had been up to me, if I was the one going to try to influence him, he probably would have been a baker or a candlestick maker. Mostly I thought about how grateful I am. I'm grateful for the seasoned coaches who shared their knowledge, a lot of them at this convention. But it was ETSU's Dave Walker, also in the Hall of Fame, who became my mentor and my dear friend. In our later coaching years, we were able to log many miles of long chats while we served together on the NCAA track and field committee, and he hated to fly. So that's why we drove. We'd spend 13 to 15 hours on the road because he wasn't going to fly. And I learned early on, he also wasn't going to drive. You know, a little bit of this moving the steering wheel while he was driving. After being a member of NCAA and USTFCCCA committees provided extraordinary learning experiences for me, and I cherish the opportunities I have to give back to the sport. I recommend this to each and every one, and particularly the younger coaches. It's like the light went on. We had our successes in what we were doing at Appalachian and all that, but until I expanded everything out to a more national level because of work on committees and stuff, it really, really influenced what happened for me later on as well. And there are so many of them, coaches out here, that I was able to make contact with and enjoy their fellowship, but also the experiences of track and field in a way that it goes beyond coaching. My final thank yous go out to my college roommates who were runners at Appalachian, two of whom are with me this evening, Dr. Robert McKeithen and Don Kennedy. In fact, Don was with the U.S. Elite Running Group back in the 70s, and it was a group of people that included Prefontaine, Kenny Moore, Shorter, and some of those guys, and that was kind of the thing I was working around while I was in college. They sparked my interest in what they were doing, but it was our college coach, Dr. Jerry Mayhew, whose background in exercise science fueled my interest in the science of running. And boy, did it serve me so well through the years. To the current App State coaches, seated over here, all of whom are former App State athletes, thanks for your dedication to our program, and all the best for your quest for success in forming your program. I am thankful for all the former assistants who left their mark on our program, leaving behind immeasurable contributions to the App State legacy. To Sam Seams and his staff, under his leadership, as we have as coaches been elevated to a highly organized group of professionals working for the betterment of our sport, and that is no small thing. And last, to my family. My wife, Cindy, did more for this program, as well as covering dad duties, while still working full-time, than I could ever begin to list. You are my guiding force. And my sons, Chase and Jay, were troopers in understanding that Dad's schedule didn't always conform to theirs, yet they were always there when I needed them. And I'm so proud of Chase, because he was a snowboarder. Oh my gosh, a snowboarder. But he finally found his calling in life when he got his degree in nursing, and I'm so proud of him. The absolute best part of my retirement is that now my schedule is wide open for you. I am so lucky to have been doing all these years what I love, in the place that I love, with the people that I love. Thank you for this magnificent honor.